Here I am going up the Annis Little Butte. I decided to take a quick picture of looking down into the farm area. Again, just so you can compare from what you saw 2 months ago to now. And again, how much of a difference it makes to have a very, very wet spring. Mix it with some sunshine, and wow, things really take off. And I'm just going to pan over here a little bit. I did grow up next to a cemetery. It's kind of an interesting place. Right along here, this is the newer part of the cemetery where the headstones have to all be flat to make mowing the lawns easier. This is, again, the newer part. The older part is back in there. It's quite a pretty place. When I was younger, some friends of mine and I, we used to go over here a lot, and we'd ride our bikes up and down the roadways and play cops and robbers and games and that. Maybe it wasn't the most reverent or respectful thing to do, but it was kind of fun at the time. Here are my 3 Yahoo helpers today. We're going a little bit on a bit of a four-wheeler ride,
and
zooming around the farm.
3 days ago.
You had your birthday, didn't you?
Yep.
You turned 9. Yep. And then Mitch, you're having a birthday coming up. You're going to be 4 next week.
Yep.
And Rhett, your 7th birthday's coming along in the fall.
I had a good birthday present when I got Mitch.
That's right. Can you guys wave at the camera?
Hi. Hi. Now let's get back to Uncle Mike.
Here we are at the place called the sheep pasture that I filmed about 2 months ago. This is what happens when you get a really, really wet spring and then some warm days. Everything really starts to take off and grow. I don't think they have any cattle yet down here, but that's it right there. And it goes out kind of a little grassy area. When I filmed this 2 months ago, this was all dry. The water hadn't come in yet into the canal. Now it's running pretty high actually today. It looks pretty good. And then let me pan back over this way. Now we're going to be looking eastward. Many, many years ago, when I used to hang out with my friends and kind of play on this canal, this area was one of the more fun places because when the water was just a little bit lower, it would really kind of look like rapids through here. And you'd shoot through pretty fast on this part of the canal. But anyway, it looks a lot different than it did 2 months ago. Alright, here's that spot that I mentioned earlier. It was called the Big Hole, where the canal makes a curve, and it has carved out a lot of the water, or excuse me, carved out a lot of the dirt that's there, and it's really quite deep through there. Okay, this is on the west side of the canal, or as we always called it, the slough. This is looking into the sheep pasture now. Everything's all green and pretty. I'm sure they will be having a few cows in there a little later on this summer. When my friends and I used to float on the canal back in the mid-80s, this was one of the quieter stretches. It's another bend, not so deep as the last one, but it's pretty cool here too. Up until about 1968, the old Annis School used to sit on that spot right there, and kids would go from 1st to 8th grade there. That's where my dad actually went to school before he went to the high school over town in Rigby. Several years ago, some people bought it, and it's changed hands once or twice, and the people who own the property now really don't take very good care of it. It's kind of sad how they've let it go. But there used to be trees all the way around it, and that was the old playground area out there. When I was a younger kid, just across the street right there, for years and years and years, there was an old swing set that was always there as a leftover from the old school. It was closed about 4 years before I was born, or else I would have walked across the street to go to school. Then as you pan down here on the highway, let me back up just a little bit. That's the field I filmed earlier, showing the flood irrigation with the tubes, but the water was empty, but just showing you how to do it. These big old trees, I've always had these by my parents' house. I've enjoyed them. It's always nice to hear the wind going through them, as you can hear right now. And this roadway that my folks live on is called the Manan-Lorenzo Highway. My mom's sister lives just right up there, and so I grew up by my cousins. This is my parents' home place. When they do water the lawn, the water does come out through that ditch end right over there, and it comes out and floods the lawn. Does a really good job of soaking it up. This is looking eastward, actually. We had all these big pine trees there. Several years ago, when they were all small, I ran over one of them, the one on the end, with the four-wheeler and broke it off. We had to buy a new one. I think I had to buy it. That's why it's a little shorter. Oh, there's the dog there running around having a good time. We built our house in 1979. The old one, I think on the other film I mentioned to you, was on this spot right in here. Then they built the one behind it, and then we tore down the old one right there. Oh, they still have their bag from their satellite dish on there. I gotta tell them to get that off there. That looks kind of weird. Okay. Garden spot back out in there. This used to be a garden spot up until maybe just 4 or 5 years ago. And it was all planted into lawn. And then, because we are in the Snake River Valley, the upper Snake River Valley, the winds are pretty strong sometimes because it is so wide and flat and open. A lot of times people will make wind breaks in their area to slow down the winds. And that's what you're seeing over there. Alright, here we are. It's Independence Day 2011. I've got Trace and Rhett and Mitch with me. We've been up visiting for a couple days and working. Woo, 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 woo. And we decided to take an hour or two and water the lawn. It's always fun for them to be able to play in it. Zoom in a little bit. They found some pieces of wood that they're using as guns, or they also use them as boats. And I think today Mitch wore the wrong underwear. I think he's got a pair of Traces. They're a little baggy on him. Water will just go around back there. Again, it's Independence Day. It's got the flag out. Water will come up in through here. It doesn't go all the way, but it will get up in through here. It'll get up through there. Back up just a little bit here. And it'll cover pretty much that new lawn area over in there as well.